Learning outcomes. After studying this module, you shall be able to understand the concept of types of governments, identify the various roles of government in different aspects of business, compare the role of government in different economic systems, evaluate the need of government intervention in business. Government is one of the most important contributor to the business environment. We shall be now looking at the influence, the impact, the relevance or the significance of government as one of the entities with which the business has to interact very often on a day-to-day basis. Therefore, in the context of the business environment, amongst several other entities, the government happens to be one of the most important entity. The government is the most significant factor which a business enterprise has to take into account. The government exists in the economy at the macro level. In general, the government is supposed to govern the nation. It is supposed to lay the path for economic development and for achieving the national goals according to what is laid down in the Constitution. So, as we have been saying, when we talk about typically about an economy like India, which is characterized as a mixed economy, we cannot expect that businesses would be operating freely like a free market economy. So, keeping this in mind, it is important to understand that the government plays both a direct role and an indirect role in creating competitive advantage for industry in the economy. In most of the economies, the government acts as a neutral referee that decides the rules of the game for businesses. That is, the role of the government is very often only seen as a neutral entity. But this is not enough for us to understand how the business environment is operating and what actually the role of the government is. Of course, it is necessary that the government intervenes in aid of fair play. All actors, all economic agents in the economy have a right to have equal access to resources, to markets and so on. So, therefore, the presence of the government is essentially meant for ensuring that there is a level playing field. The business environment as it is characterized, it should be such that all businesses are at par, all competitors, no particular business has got a special advantage. So, this is the basic role of the government, but obviously the role of the government does not stop here. It also sets the rules, the regulations in order to provide a proper legal framework, and this legal framework in turn is responsible for the smooth functioning of business. All businesses would like that they should not be bothered about many day-to-day happenings in the economy. They should have an environment where all of these things are taken care by the government. Adam Smith, even as early as the 18th century, discussed the role of the government in his book, The Wealth of Nations. He felt that the government plays a role as a mentor who makes and enforces the laws for safeguarding the interest of different stakeholders and provides infrastructure and support to businesses within the ambit of the national objectives, the mission and the vision. What is the concept of a government? A government may be a person, a group of persons, or a group of persons who represent the people and who hold the authority to govern the society, which is determined by the constitution of the country. Therefore, the government has got a certain special position and a certain sanction from the society and through the representatives of the people. The government can be termed as the state machinery, which includes various departments, institutions that make laws and policies and execute them and ensure that they are enforced with the same spirit as is expected by the businesses in the economy. Government of India is formed by virtue of the Constitution of India. The Constitution of India is a written document that lays down the rights and duties of the state, and it also gives the political and the socio-economic objectives of governance. It explains the distribution of powers amongst different layers of government. The Constitution of India was adopted on 26th November 1949 but came into force on 26th January 1950. It explains the parliamentary form of government. It also elaborates the governmental setup and the distribution of powers between the center and the states. There are three levels of the government. In India, the government has generally three levels. The three distinct levels have got distinct powers. The first level is the legislature, who is supposed to make the laws, and this is done by the legislative body, which could be the parliament in the case of the central government, or it could be the assembly in the case of the state government. The second layer is the executive, who is supposed to implement the laws which have been formulated by the parliament or by the state government. And the third level is the judiciary, who interprets and applies the laws. Now, the Indian Parliament consists of the President and two houses, the Rajya Sabha or the upper house and the Lok Sabha, which is the lower house, and the Parliament of India performs the functions such as passing of the budget, enacting all laws. It discusses national issues, ratifies the treaties and frames policies for various important aspects such as international relations, poverty programs and so on. The executive is an administrative body that performs the following functions, such as it implements the laws made by the parliament, which is its primary duty and responsibility. It protects and defends the constitution of the country and makes the important appointments and frames foreign policy as well. So, this is the function of the second layer, which is called the executive. The judiciary is a branch of the government that is independent of the parliament as well as the executive. So, therefore, we must understand that the judiciary has a special position, and it should be this way, because otherwise if the judiciary is under the thumb of the parliament, under the thumb of the executive, then the most important aspect, which is justice, will not be delivered properly. It is held responsible, the judiciary is held responsible for review and for interpretation of laws and oversees the administration of the judicial system in the country. So therefore, it has got a very vital role to play. Forms of government. There are various forms of government that exist in different countries of the world. Each form of government has its own unique features and characteristics. Some of the common forms of governments are democracy. The word democracy means rule by the people. In democracy, the state is governed by the people directly and indirectly through their representatives. These representatives are selected through free and fair elections. For example, India is the largest democracy in the world. India has a parliamentary system of government in which people's representatives are selected on the basis of universal adult franchise. Autocracy. In autocracy, the power to govern the society is held by a particular person or party. The power is inherited or obtained by military force. The person exercises his absolute power to control all aspects of social and economic life of citizens. Hitler had enjoyed his power as the greatest autocrat of the modern world. Mussolini and Joseph Stalin were famous autocrats of Italy and USSR respectively. Theocracy. In theocracy, the government is led by a religious person or a religious body. The state is governed according to the law, which is based on religious teachings, and the state's legal system is also based on religious law. Currently, Iran is an Islamic state which is used to the Sharia rule. The law that the government follows is Sharia and it is led by an Islamic cleric. Monarchy. Monarchy is the form of government where the supreme power to govern the state is held by a single person called the king or the queen. Earlier, almost every nation had a system of monarchy. Now, Great Britain is following the system of monarchy. Qatar, a West Asian country, has a monarchy and the government is ruled solely by the Al Thani dynasty. We shall now discuss the government and different aspects of business. Government has an impact on different aspects of business such as profitability, operations and functions of business. The government makes and enforces laws to regulate the different areas of business. The main areas which are affected by the government are government and financial resources. The government channelizes the financial resources among different sectors of the economy through taxation and borrowings. The network of financial institutions which mobilize the funds in the economy function under the guidance and control of the state machinery. Financial decisions of a business entity are also influenced by fiscal and monetary policy of the government. It plays an important role in deciding interest rates in the economy, which directly affect cost of borrowed capital for a business unit. Government and business administration. Government also influences the administration and functioning of a business. It sets the rules, regulations, and guidelines as well as the code of conduct according to which a business is operated. The government and business stakeholders. It is generally argued by the state interventionists that managers only serve the interest of shareholders and neglect the expectations of other stakeholders of business. To safeguard the interest of different stakeholders, the government possesses obligations on business enterprises through various laws and regulations. For example, there are different acts such as Company Act 2013, Industrial Disputes Act 1947, Payment of Bonus Act 1965, Income Tax Act 1961 and so on, all of which govern the different business activities. We shall now study national competitive advantage and government. Porter has explained four major attributes that determine the competitive advantage for an industry. He maintains an additional factor, government, that indirectly affects the level of competitive advantage of an industry. He maintains an additional factor, government, that indirectly affects the level of competitive advantage of an industry. All these four determinants are influenced by the government at the macro level. Government and factor conditions. Factor conditions are influenced by government policies and decisions. Government creates a favorable environment conditions for development of different factors that play an important role in the success of an industry in the economy. These factors include roads, railways, shipping, etc., schools, colleges, and other training institutions. Government and demand conditions. Government tries to control the demand of a specific product by setting up high quality standards and imposing different types of duties and taxes on the product. Sometimes the government encourages demand of a product by providing financial assistance in the form of subsidies and tax exemptions. Government and related and supported industries. Government supports an industry in the economy by promoting its related industries. Industries that provide raw material and other services to a particular industry. Government helps some related and supported industries by providing financial assistance and infrastructural support. The supported and related industries include things such as banking industry, communication, transport, insurance, etc. Government and firm strategy, structure and rivalry. The intensity of competition in an industry depends upon the government intervention in the market. Government encourages healthy competition in the industry by enforcing antitrust policies and monopoly and restrictive laws. It confirms the availability of equal opportunity to all participants in the market. We shall now study the role of government. The government plays various roles in the country. There are some economic roles of the government that are concerned with growth and development of the industrial sector. The main four economic roles are discussed. Promotional role. Government plays a significant role in the development of different industries by providing infrastructural facilities such as power, transport, banking, insurance, etc. The promotional role of government consists of providing financial support by way of subsidies or grants, power, water supply at concessional rates, tax holidays for development of particular industries in backward regions, to provide monetary and other incentives for development of priority sectors or industry of public interest, to provide cover against certain risk. Regulating role. Governments may also reserve the right to regulate different business activities for some social and economic purposes. Government prescribes laws related to the administration of business, to raise capital and to distribute income. The regulatory role of government is to formulate rules or regulations in order to set standards of firm behavior. The different types of fines and penalties are imposed for non-compliance of prescribed rules and regulations, to control different trade activities through various types of instruments such as tariffs, quotas and taxes. The planning role of the government. In the role of a planner, the government ensures the optimum use of scarce resources in the economy by proper allocation of resources as per national priorities. The government lays down the plans for acquisition, distribution and the utilization of such resources so as to achieve socio-economic objectives of the country. In India, the Planning Commission formulates their 5-year plans which are executed by different concerned departments. Entrepreneurial role. As an entrepreneur, the government participates in business activities by owning and managing different government undertakings. In the economy, private players operate in the market solely for profit motive and hence do not involve in the production of common public goods. Such goods do not give a high rate of return, but in this situation the government has to run such non-profit public undertakings and works as an entrepreneur, albeit being a social entrepreneur. Apart from the participating in business activities, the entrepreneurial role of the government involves the encouragement of entrepreneurial activity in the country by announcing different policies and establishing entrepreneurial development through institutional support. Let us now throw some light on the role of the government in different economic systems. The role of the government in business varies from country to country. It depends upon the economic system that exists in the country. There are 3 types of economic systems popularly known: capitalism, socialism and mixed economy. The level of the government intervention differs in each economic system. In capitalism, all the factors of production are owned and controlled by the private sector. All the decisions related to production and distribution of goods and services are made by market forces without any intervention by the government. In capitalism, the government plays a minimum role. The minimum role is only to take care of the business environment. It maintains the legal framework in the economy, it protects individual property rights, and it provides public goods. Under socialist economic system, the government plays a significant role in the economy. All the means of production are owned by the government. The central planning system makes all the decisions related to production and distribution. No private profits are allowed in the economy. Everyone works for the government in order to achieve the social objectives which are set by the government. Under the mixed economic system, both public and private sector exist or coexist in the economy. The private sector primarily works with the profit motive, and the public sector, which is governed by the state, designs programs and policies to promote welfare of society. But the sector works together, both the sectors work together to ensure overall development of the economy. The government implements laws and regulations to check undesirable economic activities. In a mixed economy, the government provides infrastructural support for rapid economic development through the public sector. We shall now study the concept of an economic system. An organized system of allocating resources as well as production of goods and services in order to satisfy the needs of people is known as an economic system. More precisely, according to Locke, an economic system consists of those institutions which are selected or accepted by given people or nation or group of nations as the means through which resources are utilized for the satisfaction of human wants. Rationality of government intervention in business. We shall now discuss the reasons for government intervention in the economy and particularly with respect to business. The government intervenes in business activities for a variety of reasons. The main reasons for intervention is to safeguard the interest of society. Here are some of the reasons for intervention. To provide vision and mission. The government directs all economic activities by setting up targets and providing a roadmap, as in the case of India, under the 5-year plans. It decides the overall economic goals under which different business organizations set their individual objectives and make strategies. The government preserves competition. The government preserves competition in the market. The government intervenes in the business environment to maintain healthy competition in the market by enforcing antitrust laws that act against natural monopolies. The laws prohibit the formation of monopolies and unfair activities, unfair practices in the market. The government ensures fair play in the market. The government promotes economic performance of industries. Many times, governments help different sectors or industries in growth and revival by providing tax holidays, exemptions, or lowering the rate of duties. The government also provides the necessary legal framework. The government creates the legal framework in an economy by enforcing different laws in the country. These laws help in enforcement of different types of business contracts and safeguard the intellectual property rights. Similarly, the government provides public goods. The private sector does not produce public goods because there is no economic incentive in doing so. Therefore, the government produces public goods for the benefit of society. These are goods and services that are freely available. The government regulates the private sector. Under the capitalist and mixed economies, the government regulates the private sector in order to check unfair practices such as mismanagement of funds, concealment and manipulation of facts and figures, unfair trade practices, and so on. There are different government agencies such as RBI, TRAI, and SEBI that are vested with the power to regulate these areas of economic activity and trade. We shall now throw some light on the arguments against government intervention. Market disequilibrium. When the government intervenes in the market by controlling market prices, it creates a problem of shortage or of oversupply. If the government sets the price below the equilibrium level, then it results in excess demand or a shortage in the market. Contrarily, if the prices are fixed above the equilibrium price, then it decreases the demand in the market. Bureaucracy. Government intervention through its rules and regulations creates bureaucratic hurdles in the growth of business. Sometimes government intervention unnecessarily delays the decision making process of business and negatively affects its efficiency and growth. Kills initiative and creativity. A large number of legal formalities and regulations discourage the initiative for setting up a new business. Because of these bureaucratic hurdles, people prefer to be an intrapreneur rather than being an entrepreneur. Imbalanced economic growth. Government supports a particular sector or industry, and this inversely affects the inclusive growth in the economy. It leads to inefficient allocation of resources. We shall now recapitulate what we have learned so far. The government is an important part of the external business environment. There are four common types of governments: democracy, autocracy, theocracy, and monarchy. India is a democratic country which follows the parliamentary system of government. The government is an influence on business and industry in the economy. It influences business by affecting the following factors that decide the competitive position in the economy. These factors are demand conditions, factor conditions, that is the conditions of factor supply, firm strategy, and also rivalry in industry. The government plays four economic roles for growth and development of the business and the industrial sector. These economic roles are promotional, entrepreneurial, regulating, and a planning role. The government intervenes in the economy to provide vision and mission, legal framework, and the economical support to business. It preserves competition in the market and yet has the role of regulating the private sector and regulating the market.